With the release of this video, many of you wanted more, so here I am. I'm still trying to make these better and all, so cut me some slack, yeah? If you're new here or you need a refresher on what's going on here, don't worry, I got you covered. Today I will be, once again, discussing one fact about every TETH level E.G.O. No, not Zane, this is a TETH level one. If you want to watch the Zane level one, go watch this one instead of this one. With that being said, this will be a 4-part series, this being part 2, each video covering a different E.G.O level, going from Zane to Law, excluding Alf, obviously. In the likely case that E.G.O does not have anything interesting about it, I will instead talk about its trivia. Thanks again to the managers that run the Limbus company wiki.gg, or this video probably wouldn't have been possible.
태우고 싶은 것을 태울 뿐이요.
For some odd reason, this is the only TETH level E.G.O that has zero differences in its skill effects when overclocking. It does roll differently as most overclocks do, if not all of them, but the on hit and on heads effect stay the same. Why? It's a minus coin. It doesn't need that. Notice how every other TETH level E.G.O has some sort of change when overclocking.
복을 구하고 싶다면 정성을 들여 빌어보시오.
This is the only E.G.O in the entire game to give blunt protection. It's also the only one to give sloth protection too. 3 stacks for 30%. It's ironic because sometimes I feel like everything in this game is blunt weak and does blunt damage, so it's a pretty damn good passive. And 3 stacks of sloth protection is pretty good too.
이리 와. 꽉 안아줄게.
In this E.G.O's Corrosion animation, a box of cookies falls out of the chest of the Corrosion, or Faust, I guess. While it's most likely common knowledge, I found it really interesting and kinda sad actually, so I thought I'd bring it up.
기록은 끝났습니다. 남은 건 그대를 자유케 하는 것.
This is the only TETH E.G.O that converts a status effect into a different one.
저리 꺼져. 사과는 어디에 숨겼지?
For some reason, this E.G.O, along with Hong Lu's, both have brambles that wrap around the artwork similar to how the base Zane level E.G.O look. Now, hear me out, I know what you're gonna say. Oh, it's just an art design choice. Don't think much about it, don't overthink it. But you underestimate me. We're a Project Moon channel, of course we're gonna overthink everything. I am aware that many E.G.O in the game in general do this, not just the Zane ones, but for whatever reason, these are the only TETH ones with this feature. All the other ones that have it are Zane, He, and WoW. To be fair, Brambles and Rose Hunter kinda go together anyway, so visually, it makes sense. For whatever reason, despite being a very much burn-related E.G.O, along with the Abno being burn-based too, Don Quixote's E.G.O passive, Cauldron of Gorging, doesn't have burn? Yet Sinclair does, so it's kinda weird how it's inconsistent across the two.
간절하게 빌게나. 그렇지 않으면 화를 입을 테니.
Pagoda Veneration, the abnormality the Wishing Cairn E.G.Os are based off of, has E.G.O gifts that are purely poise based, but for some reason this inflicts bleed, paralyze, and tremor, none of which synergize with poise or the related gift, and the only poise it has is its passive, which is locked behind killing a bleeding target. No, not with sloth damage, bleed. This might as well be a bleed tremor E.G.O, cause what in the world were they cooking? I'm pretty sure the E.G.O skill giving some poise would have been just fine, so I'm not sure why it has such an odd method for activating it.
그대에게 보이는 이 전기 불꽃은 무슨 색을 띠고 있는가?
Speaking of accuracy in E.G.O gifts, this E.G.O's passive is actually pretty similar to the gift it's associated with, that being the Dreaming Electric Sheep, unlike Wishing Cairn. I digress. Here's something actually interesting. The idol animation, Corrosion, has a pulsating glowing light on Don Quixote's chest, which is pretty cool.
자, 맛볼 시간이다.
Due to being a single coin E.G.O skill, this enables it to be used by the Crooked Penny, Rusty Commemorative Coin. But that's not the interesting part. Normally, this E.G.O can inflict a max of 1 to 2 plus coin drop, but with the Crooked Penny, you can get a whole 4 plus coin drop. Oh, and 2 to 6 slash for agility too, and extra bind. So, what's the fact? Plus coin drop printer, an ungodly amount. It's the only E.G.O to even have access to this debuff.
거기 그대로 있어. 이 번쩍이는 조명을 내게 깨워줄 테니.
Though it's a poise/sinking based abnormality, this E.G.O gains charged? The passive plus charge count is likely meant to mirror the fluorescence shard effect without actually giving it, because it is a very strong effect that should not be on an E.G.O, especially not a TETH one.
순서에 따라 대상을 제거합니다.
Currently, it is one of the only 2 E.G.O that have a corrosion that is not indiscriminate, the other being teleported on Quixote. Many say it's because robots follow orders and do as they're told, otherwise, what's the point?
이 구속구가 나의 폭력을 저지하기엔 턱없이 모자르지.
On the initial release, there was a bug where the coin power of the corrosion seal was set to -15 rather than 10. This has since been fixed.
이제 가진 것은 이 전기밖에 없는데 이것까지.
This E.G.O's corrosion voice line is, or well, lack thereof, is just a loud roar. This is a special case as the majority of E.G.O get a voice line change when corroding, but this one just doesn't have one at all. They say the more you resonate, the more you transform, so I guess Meursault has a sheep for sonar or something?
이 정도까지만 옥죄어줄게요.
Other than Rodya Desire Ishmael, this is the only E.G.O able to prioritize targeting something with the highest speed.
자, 변신 완료? 만선이에요.
Now, I'd mentioned that the E.G.O having exclusively pink/purple text for its effect is cool and all, cause, you know, gripe soda. But wait, there's more. The Awakening skill actually references the opened can of Welchier's ability in Lobotomy Corporation. Welchier's would sell a different flavor of soda to the agent working on it, depending on the type of work performed. When performing instinct work, it sold a cherry-flavored soda that healed HP. This is referenced in the head's attack end conditional. When performing insight work, it sold a regular flavored soda that healed SP. This is referenced in the tail's attack end conditional. What is regular flavored soda? I have no idea. When performing either attachment or oppression work, it sold a grape flavored soda that healed both HP and SP. This is referenced in the crit attack end conditional.
슬픔에 흔들린 마음은 이렇게 터져버리죠.
This E.G.O's passive effect mirrors that of the E.G.O gift Melted Eyeball, albeit to a much weaker degree. It's also the only E.G.O to directly synergize with District 20 Euro Divi Honglu, as he also has Tremor Reverb, a Tremor E.G.O made just for him.
흐름을 따라 달려가면 역시 여기 숨어 있었네요.
This E.G.O doesn't unlock its HP healing down effect until up type 4, meaning you have to spend a lot of resources just to get one of the worthwhile effects on it. It's the only E.G.O with this status effect, even though some IDs have it.
심장 찌르. 튀겨주마.
This E.G.O, like every other one, has idle sprite/animations for its awakening and corrosion. For whatever reason, this E.G.O barely changes between the two. Like seriously, he just becomes a bit cooler and the badge on his chest just becomes scribbled out.
도망쳐봤자 헛수고다. 퍼져나간 탄환이 어디에서든 네 머리통을 화려하게 터뜨릴 테니.
You ever run out of ammo while using full stop Heathcliff or rabbit Heathcliff? Well, this E.G.O's got you covered, kinda. It's the only one in the game that utilizes ammo, and the only one that is capable of reloading, you know, resupplying them with ammo to their guns.
저것을 싸매요. 취한다.
This E.G.O's animation somewhat mimics Snag Harpoon Ishmael.
자, 이쪽입니다.
Did you know that when this E.G.O was initially released, acquiring it played the wrong voice line?
정지. 벗어날 수 없다.
It would play Meursault's and not Ishmael's. Testosterone really affects someone's voice, hmm? This bug has since been fixed.
주인께서 명하셨습니다. 당신을 청소하라고.
This E.G.O can prevent and ignore the generic panic, meaning that the Sinner clones, Envy Pecatulum, will not corrode. Corrosion will only trigger on the generic panic, and overriding it bypasses it.
그래도 언제나 추월할 수는 없으니까.
Other than Tears of the Tarnished Blood Honglu, this is the only other E.G.O in the game that applies attack power down through a passive rather than the skill itself.
꽤 끈적거리거든. 절대 피할 수 없을걸?
E.G.Os are usually fixed to one type of physical damage, those being Slash, Blunt, and Pierce. The thing is, Ever-recent Corrosion Rodyon has Blunt on its awakening skill, yet the Corrosion is Pierce, giving it 2 types, which sort of plays into its own passive too. Wishing Karen Yiseng and Bygone Days Gregor are the only other 2 TETHs with this feature.
또한 산재물이 되어라.
This is the only 10th level E.G.O with the failed kill condition present. I know what you're gonna say, 4th match flame Ryoshu has one too, but that's not a 10th E.G.O. So don't point me out on that, okay? I know it has it, just that's not a 10th E.G.O.
이것이 궁극의
This is the only 10th E.G.O with 7 attack weight. It's also the only other E.G.O with E.G.O resource amp, the other being Soda Ryoshu. I know a certain guy who really likes this E.G.O.
당신도 꽂혀보세요. 누군가에게 저주받는 기분이 어떤 것인지.
This is the only instance in the entire game where Clash Power Down is present on an ID or E.G.O. No, this doesn't count -2 power in a Clash type skills, or target loses 1 Clash power while in a Clash. Those don't count. What I mean is the status effect itself, not some other weird invisible fixed thing.
고요해져라. 처음부터 어떤 범민도 없던 것처럼.
Normally, when using this E.G.O, there is only 1 sprite present, 1 for the awakening, 1 for the corrosion. Makes sense, right? That makes 2, but regardless, there is only 1 sprite ever being used at the same time, so you know what I mean. Well, the corrosion for this actually has multiple. 3 to be exact, due to the transformation that happens during the skill animation, which can cause it to change sprites during the animation.
쓸데없는 관심은 필요 없다.
Oddly enough, this E.G.O gives sloth resistance despite being primarily a gluttony skill. The way E.G.Os work is that whatever sin they're attached to is what they will be most resistant to. Wrath is resistant to Wrath, Gloom is resistant to Gloom, you get the point. The only other TETH that does this is 9-2 Faust.
동화 하나 읽어줄까?
This has the highest personal healing factor out of any E.G.O in the game. What I mean is, well, personal, you know, self. This obviously excludes teammates or other sources like passives and whatnot. 60% is quite a bit.
저 택을 안내해주지.
This is the only TETH E.G.O to have exclusively after attack effects, nothing related to on hit. That's pretty funny when you think about it actually. Imagine hitting something and having nothing happen. I know stuff still happens thanks to how the after attack effects are programmed and whatnot, but on paper it looks really funny, but in reality it's just fine.